why some nurseries don't make money, and 6 mistakes you should avoid. This is what we'll go over in this video so that you can make sure that you open your nursery successfully. But first, welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel, Open Nursery with myself, Kurt Liania, where I support you to open, run and grow your own nursery. If this is your first time here, then make sure you subscribe. I post regular videos all supporting you to open and run your own nursery, from 7 steps to opening your own nursery to different nursery setup costs. There's lots here to support you on your nursery business journey. But today we're going over why some nurseries struggle and don't make money, and some mistakes that you should avoid. As just because you have money in the bank at the end of the year, it doesn't mean that your nursery will be profitable long term, and doesn't always equate to success. Arguably, the most important purpose and focus of your nursery should be to make a profit. Without making a profit, every single desire and plan you have for your nursery will unfortunately fail. You won't be able to support the children in your care. You won't be able to provide services for your community, and you won't be able to provide a good income for yourself or your staff. Which is why the first thing you should avoid doing is not focusing on your profit. This sounds simple, but so many businesses, including nurseries, do this. They don't sit down and work out how much profit you will make or how much profit you can make. You need to be profit focused. You need to work out how much you intend to make based on your income. Then make every effort to make sure that this profit target becomes reality. Despite the importance of this, I still find many childcare providers that I begin supporting not prioritizing this. So many childcare providers don't understand or don't focus on their profit. Don't do this. Make sure you work out your profits by working out how much you expect to generate from each child and then taking away all your potential expenses. Just make sure that you're realistic and conservative with your figures. Now that you understand the importance of focusing on your profit, you then need to think about how much margins you want to make. Margins are an important indicator of your profitability, but is vastly ignored or misunderstood by many settings. Now think, do you know your current margins? If so, is it comparable to other nurseries in your area? If not, do you know how to work out your margins? If the answer is no or I don't know, then I've got some homework for you. Work out your margins. It's not actually that difficult. Simply take your direct labour costs, so for example your staffing costs, and your direct expenses, and take this away from your revenue or your income. Then divide that number by the revenue or income. Let me give you an example to help visualize this. So if you have one child and their yearly income or revenue for you is £16,000 per year, and your direct expenses for things like food come to £2,000 per year, and your direct labour costs come to £6,000 per year, which is worked out by paying one member of staff £30,000 to look after 5 toddlers. So naturally each toddler is costing you £6,000 per year. This makes your direct labour costs and your expenses £8,000 per year. You then minus this amount from the revenue and then divide by the revenue. This works out your gross profit margin. So in this example, you'll get £16,000 minus £8,000 and divide that again by the £16,000, which makes your margin 0.5 or 50%. This means that for every £1 you receive per child, you make 50p in gross profit. You can then use this gross profit margin to compare with other nurseries so that you can gauge where your nursery sits at. If your margin is too low, then you're unlikely to make a net profit, as there won't be enough left over from this to cover your fixed expenses like your rent, business rates and utilities. So make sure you work out what gross profit margin your nursery can expect to make. Another reason some nurseries don't make money, and a mistake that you should avoid, is not properly working out how much you should charge. Many nurseries just work out their pricing by copying what their competitors are doing, or just base it on what they feel they should charge, potentially just undercutting their competitors too. Please don't do this. Once you've worked out your gross profit margin, use this as well as your other expenses to work out how much you should charge. Work out how much it costs for X amount of children to attend your nursery. So using the previous example, we'll go with 20 children. Your direct cost based on these 20 children will be £160,000 per year. as the direct cost we worked out was £8,000, and you're just multiplying that by 20. Your fixed costs may be roughly £40,000 per year, so you might be paying roughly £30,000 per year on rent and another £10,000 for other things like business rates and utilities. This brings your total cost for the 20 children to £200,000 per year, or £10,000 per child. This means that you will need to charge at least £10,000 in order to make a profit for yourselves. If your goal is to get a net profit margin of 33.3%, then you'll need to charge £15,000 per child per year, which works out to £1,250 per month. So please don't get confused with gross profit margin and net profit margin. Gross profit margin is your income minus your direct costs, so the cost of your staffing and your other direct costs like potentially providing food for each child. And your net profit margin is your income or revenue minus all of your costs, which includes non-direct costs like your rent and utilities. One tip is to ensure you work out your net profit margin correctly, as a common mistake is to confuse that by charging £15,000, you'll be getting a net profit margin of 50%. As remember, your net profit margin would be your revenue, so the £15,000 minus your costs, which worked out as £10,000, and then divide that again by your revenue or income, which will be £15,000. If your costs increase and you want to maintain the same net profit margins, then one thing you need to be doing is increasing your pricing. This is something that many nurseries and other businesses are scared to do, and is the next mistake that you should avoid doing. If you realise you're not charging enough, maybe minimum wage has gone up, which has increased your labour costs, or maybe your landlord's raised the rent, then you may need to increase your prices to cover this. Many nurseries procrastinate and put off increasing their prices due to the fear that they will lose parents, or just the fear of having these awkward conversations. Though it's important to realise, although some parents may not be happy with the increase, it is unlikely that many, if any, will leave. A parent is unlikely to leave if their fees, for example, go up by 5%. Using the previous examples, 5% increase would change their fees from £1,250 per month to £1,312.50, an increase of £62.50 per month. It's very unlikely that you'll find many parents that would actually change their nursery because you're increasing the fees by £60 per month, especially if you talk to them and explain the reasons why this is necessary. But this increase will mean your revenue will go from being £300,000 per year for 20 children to £315,000 per year. That extra £15,000 may be enough to help cover the cost of potentially minimum wage increasing or a landlord increasing the rent. If some of your costs do increase, you don't just have to raise your prices. You should also be looking at what costs you can cut. This is another mistake nurseries make, not cutting costs. It can be easy to forget when running your nursery to do regular intakes of what is working and what is not. You can get in a habit of spending money on needless things. You should be regularly looking at your costs to see where you might be spending too much or where you might be wasting money. This can also be challenging, as it can lead to awkward conversations with staff around resources, or leading to changing suppliers that you've been loyal to, or even sadly letting people go. But sometimes, in order to make sure your business is successful, this needs to be done. It's important to remember as well that if you are able to cut your direct costs, it will have a far greater impact on your profit than cutting your fixed costs, though both should be checked to see where you can reduce your expenditure. Though putting this all together, one of the biggest mistakes people make when running a nursery or any other business is not trying to understand their finances. Now, you don't need to study accounting or understand how much your assets are depreciating, but it is important to take the time and understand the things that I've mentioned in this video. You should know how much profit you're making per child, how many children you need to reach your profit margin, and what your costs, your income, and your expenses are. These are important concepts that you should grasp if you plan to open your own nursery. You should then use these numbers to feed into your business plan, which you should all be creating. To support you in doing this, feel free to download the free business plan template, which are structured specifically for those who want to open a nursery. You can get it by clicking the link that's on the screen now, or by clicking the link that's in the description. Simply scroll to the middle of the page and download the free template. So head over there and get started by downloading your free business plan template. God bless.